I'm Bliss Singer, and I am the only one who wasn't expected to survive. Even if I was invited to things or hanging out with friends, it all felt very lonely or obviously different. And sometimes I know I relied on having white parents to get different privileges.
It seems that the only thing we've been able to count on lately is change.
And we're really interested in how you all are doing and adapting in these uncertain times.
Because we're always so inspired by your stories.
So we're continuing to feature all different types of experiences and different points of view.
Someone brilliant once said, "Stop looking for the new normal. That ship has sailed. All we have is what's happening now." So we named this Thursday edition of The Only One in the Room, The Now Normal.
And you can expect a new episode from us every week, as long as everything keeps changing.
And don't forget to look out for our special Sunday edition and tune in every Tuesday when we bring you a brand new, amazing episode of The Only One in the Room. All right, Bliss Singer. I really wanted to say Bessinger. Your mom corrected me right away. She's like, oh no, it's Singer. Bliss, can you tell me what's the last show that you binge watched?
I just finished watching Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls?
No, we're not watching
wow.
that, honey.
Well, tell us why you watched the whole thing.
My mom has been asking me to watch it for years now.
She's
and
a fan.
I finally found some time. Oh, yeah. Big fan.
She's like, does she quote episodes and that kind of stuff?
Yes, she does. And she comes and she watched it with me a lot of the time.
Aw. Well, so it's a bonding thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's lovely. Nice. That's really lovely. We did that with our kids. We watched Game of Thrones with them. different kind of series.
My youngest daughter was 13 and we were like, oh, you can't watch this episode.
Yeah, she was so cute. She would sit there and read a book in the same room while we were
Aww.
watching.
I love that.
And try not to look up.
She's 16 now, so she's survived it.
Now she's seen everything. Thank you so much for that. I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and this is The Only One in the Room, the Now Normal edition. But I am never the only one in this room because, as usual, my boyfriend, producer, and co-host, Scott Slaughter, who I call Hun, is here as well.
Hi, honey.
Hey, honey. So this is a first for us.
This is a first.
We are talking to the offspring of one of our guests, and we're talking to 19-year-old Bliss Singer, who found her community in high school theater and is now a sophomore at Meredith College, an all-girl liberal arts college in Raleigh, North Carolina, where she is the only Black student in the theater department. You heard Bliss's mom, Deb Singer, talk about her when we interviewed her for season 6. Deb's episode is the only white mom with 5 adopted Black children, and one of them is Bliss. So welcome, Bliss.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, Bliss. It's great to have you.
Oh, nice to be here.
Yeah. Can you tell me, Bliss, how do you identify?
I identify as a lesbian African American woman.
All right. Thank you for that.
And I use she, her pronouns.
She, her. Okay. So I'm going to actually start earlier than I start with most people because this is pretty fascinating to me. When your mother said it, I wasn't clear on what she meant, but she said that you had a traumatic home birth. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. Well, I was born in Chicago. My birth mother, what I am told from my mom is that my adopted mother is that she couldn't make it to the hospital, that she thought she had to go to the bathroom. And that's where I was born in the toilet and faced some head trauma from being born.
So you hit your head coming out inside the toilet, like somewhere in there?
Yes.
And then what did your birth mother do at that point? Do you know?
I think even before I was born, she knew that she was going to give me up for adoption. She wasn't aware of the head injury or my cerebral palsy. And yeah, she definitely already decided that she could not handle a kid at the moment.
Right. So you got somehow into the hands of an authority or authorities, right? Someone came and got you, or she delivered you somewhere.
Yes.
And then you were taken care of and then put into the system for someone to adopt.
Yes. And I find this strange, but I wasn't brought to a hospital. My mom and dad went to Chicago and picked me up They said my dad was mowing the grass and just outside when they arrived.
Wow. Your
They
birth
picked me
father.
from the house. Yes.
Wow. You didn't go to the hospital. You were at home with your birth parents.
Yeah.
And then at 2 weeks old, they arrived there to pick you up,
Yep.
your parents. Amazing. And so from the way Deb described it on our show, she was told that you might not make it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And yet she wanted you,
Definitely. Yeah.
which I just think is astounding. It's an astoundingly giant heart, I think, to want to take care and have this baby in your life, even if you're taking care of them for a very finite amount of time.
Yeah.
And then at the time, she was told that you would have special needs. Is that correct?
Yes. And I think along the way it got more serious. And I think it's really cool how she already had two kids with special needs and then decided to take on me as well.
Yeah. So how old were the other children, your siblings?
When I was born, let's say my oldest brother was 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably around 4. And then my second oldest brother, Gage, he was probably 2 years old.
Okay. So as far as you know, you were then taken home. Can you tell our listeners what cerebral palsy is?
Wow, good question. You see, I'm not quite sure myself. I know there's a range to what cerebral palsy could do to your body. It's about your muscles and your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who have cerebral palsy don't walk or talk,
Right.
or they're in a wheelchair the rest of their life,
Mm-hmm.
which was some of the concern and worry with me when I was getting to the age where kids were walking and talking and I wasn't doing that.
Right. Right. So there was talk that you may not walk or talk ever, right? There was that
Yes.
discussion. So what I understand is that by age 3, which is a big jump from 2 weeks to age 3, you were walking and talking. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
So I know you don't remember that, but what's been told to you about that time?
I was told that there was a long period of where they thought I would not walk or talk. So I was taught some sign language, the basics
Mm.
for eating and sleep and all that. And then my mom tells me that one holiday they put some chocolates up on a table and they watched me climb up to reach for some chocolate. And
Do you still
that's,
like chocolate?
oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
am
Me
huge
I
on
love that.
candy.
me too.
Uh-huh.
Me too. The chocolates probably would have gotten me up too, but that's fantastic. So tell me, the chocolates are on the table and they're watching you get yourself up for these chocolates?
Yes, they watch me stand up and go get on a chair to reach for the chocolates.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'm sure there were tears that accompanied that. Just of joy, right? To watch you do that.
Oh, yeah.
So you had speech therapy, physical therapy, that kind of stuff?
Yes, I believe until I was 3 years old.
Okay. And truly, most children who need those types of interventions, they don't stop at age 3. They usually continue for a while. So the fact that you were able to kind of graduate, right, from speech and physical therapy at age 3, that's a really big deal, isn't it?
Definitely. I
Yeah.
know I went back sometimes. My CP caused issues with my legs at
Mm.
some point. So I was in and out, but not much at all.
Okay. What issues does it cause with your legs?
When I was in middle school, I was really big on roller skating.
Hmm.
I went every Friday and sometimes every Wednesday. I know without stretching and preparing to roller skate, that was a lot on my legs. And by the end of the night, I'd be ready to take off the skates and my legs would like tighten up
Mm-hmm.
in the calf and I wouldn't really be able to move much.
So it wasn't just like your hamstring tightening, it was all your muscles tightening?
Yeah,
Okay.
mostly the lower region.
And that's pretty uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very painful where I was on the ground sometimes at the roller rink.
Oh, wow. Wow. But you loved it.
Oh, yeah. I still love it.
So tell me what it was like being a Black sibling group raised by a white family in a primarily white area of a southern town.
It was interesting. There's a lot of loneliness that comes with it. I know my brothers and myself probably we've gone through different phases and finding who we are and who we want to surround ourselves with and who are these people we are surrounding ourselves with.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a lot of loneliness, even if I was invited to things or hanging out with friends, it all felt very lonely or obviously different. And sometimes I know I relied on having white parents to get different privileges.
How do you mean?
At school, the first day of school or orientation, I would always like my mother to attend these orientations so that they saw who she is
Which
and
sets you
didn't,
apart from the other Black children.
yeah.
Yeah. That is a kind of loneliness. I talk about that a lot in my writing, and I've talked about it on the podcast of having a dual experience of being alone in a room full of people, which, it seems like it's an oxymoron, but it's not, because I'm a solo Black woman having an experience in a room or primarily white space. And then again, I could be, enjoying and conversing and blah, 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 too. So I could have that experience. But the solo experience, the Black experience, has often been very lonely for me. So I understand that. When you and I talked, we talked about you being taken to a Mitt Romney rally. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that?
Oh yeah.
At the time, I didn't think much of it. There was a different kind of Republicans back then, but
Yes.
also some of the same values that I would not have today.
Mm-hmm.
I remember asking my mom to go, and she was like, "Yeah, sure." And I got a picture with Mitt Romney's wife. I'm surrounded by all these white people in
Yeah.
this crowded little room. I don't remember much of it at all, but I do know I have the picture, and I'm like, huh,
Yeah. Well, how
what
does
was I
that make you
doing there?
feel now?
I don't know. Being around that family, it was nice, but now looking back on it, it feels white savory.
Mm. White savior, can you explain that for people who don't know what that means?
Yes, white savor in the sense that white people may feel like black people need to be saved or
Mm-hmm.
helped.
Right. It's self-serving, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
to make them feel better.
Yes. And then we also talked about you feeling emotionally drained while you were growing up. And I mean, you're still growing up because you're 19, but at that part in your life and being scared, right?
Definitely, there's so much living in the South. There was a lot of racism and homophobia, and religion was changing, and the parents divorced. So there was a lot
Mm-hmm.
that drained me.
Yeah. Speaking of homophobia, when did you get your first crush on a girl?
Oh, wow. When I first noticed it right in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
because now, I look back and I see, oh, that was definitely a girl crush. But the first time I had a crush, I was in seventh grade. I was dating this boy,
mm.
and I had been chatting with this girl from school. She was a grade older. She was very pretty and nice. And I remember being weird in middle school. They'd always be like, Bliss, you should kiss your boyfriend.
Mm.
And the hugs would be awkward, and we didn't really talk too much. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I kind of want that with this girl, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, yeah. And then it just all changed from there
So you said that out loud, or you said it to yourself?
to myself.
Okay. And so then was that like kind of a reckoning for you? Like you recognized that this was different, the way you felt about her than the way you felt about him?
Definitely, because after that, it was all very fast, liking a lot of different girls and just who I was surrounded by. A lot of people in the area went through this experiment phase, maybe phase, some not a phase, but where everyone was open to that idea. But also, there was the other side where not a lot of people were. So,
So it was like kids are experimenting, like maybe kissing girls or just looking to see which one they like best, and that is acceptable. But what about settling on I only like other girls? Was that acceptable?
in some cases, it was.
Mm-hmm. Was it in your case?
Definitely. I think being around people at the roller rink helped because
Uh,
all of those people were they were doing the experimenting, and some were older and they had already decided that this is who I am. And I
Mm-hmm.
got to see how they dress, what they do, who they talk to, and I kind of got my style from there and the
Okay.
people I looked up to.
Yeah. So you had an environment that was more inclusive to kind of disappear into your town, which was not as inclusive.
Definitely, and that was the skating rink.
Yeah, that's great. How did you tell your parents?
So
And also, how old were you when you did?
I believe I was 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
The way my mother tells it, I don't remember this at all. She
Okay.
says, the story goes, I come up to her and say, "Hey mom, can you go to Target? I need underwear. And also I'm gay." Which
That's so great, though. I could see why she tells that story. How do you remember it?
the only memory I remember is I was on the way to the dentist with her, and I was talking about how upset I was about my best friend dating this girl because I kind of liked the best friend, and the other girl wasn't too kind to me. She was actually pretty racist,
Mm.
and I know that hurt a lot. But I remember being in the car and talking about that with my mom, and she goes, "Well, do you think you like girls?"
Mm-hmm.
And, in the car, it felt so stuck. And then I had to go to the dentist with this woman. So I was like, I don't know. I remember that, but
That's
nothing where I explicitly said, I like girls.
Isn't that funny? Maybe she just ascertained that you did, and the way that's whatever you said about needing underwear, she heard. I like girls.
Probably. Probably asked for boxers or something.
Right, right, right. You know, we've had a couple of gay men on the show who have talked about the racism within the gay community against black people. Do you or did you experience any of that?
Definitely. I think I experienced more as I grew older.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, kids don't care, they're taught that. I do remember, not being allowed to some houses or parents not wanting to meet, but definitely I see it now and how it's just put off as a preference.
Right. But underlying that, there's racism.
Definitely.
Yeah. And just like you talked about the white savior complex, which is everywhere, honestly. But was anyone ever overtly racist toward you? Did you ever feel bullied because of racism? Did you ever feel excluded because of it?
There were moments like the girl I talked about previously who was dating my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I know she used the N word towards me. And
Like in front of you?
yes, when I was 13, 14,
How did she use it? What did she say?
she sent me a message, I believe, and she's
Mm,
like, "Don't talk to this person,"
right,
and just calling me that, which
right.
really shook me up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I held a lot of anger about that for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's horrible.
And yeah,
Yeah. Anything else?
definitely when I was living in the small town, Burlington, there was places I couldn't go with no reason why, or, where they'd tell me, "My parents won't let me date a black person." You're
Mm.
like, "Oh, okay."
Right, right. So they're like almost microaggressions, but they're bigger than that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's all that stuff is just it's so hurtful, and I don't know if people even realize when they're the people perpetrating these things how deep those wounds go.
No.
And in Burlington, that's North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay, so you went to prom, right?
Yes.
Did you go with your girlfriend, the one that you have now, or someone else?
I did not. I went with a girl I was dating at the time,
Okay.
my junior year, and then senior year I just went solo.
Got it. So junior year, and do you just apply for tickets for the two of you as a couple? How does that work?
At my school, I don't believe you could apply for tickets being two girls or two boys. I believe the couples had to be,
Boy, girl.
yes.
Mm,
And they got like this total together as a couple, but I had to get mine separately, and so did she.
okay. What did you wear?
I wore a suit. I went to a bridal tux place and
Mm-hmm.
I wore a gray suit with a blue vest, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you had a three-piece suit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And what did she wear?
she wore a dress.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a nice long dress.
Okay. So in 2016, I know that you guys went onto the Steve Harvey show to talk about race, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me what that was like?
That was a great experience. I got to hear some people talk about race and how it's affected their lives. When I went on, I talked about how I was scared to even run on the main road for fear of looking suspicious to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sadly, this year, that fear kind of became a reality, which was really scary with Ahmaud Arbery.
Right. Right.
The show, though, it was quick, it was interesting. It was nice to be in that space where there were people like me and hearing people's stories and
Mm.
how they actively wanted to change how things were. There were police officers there who were there to listen and talk.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. And that was exactly the scenario with Ahmaud Arbery. And that was heart wrenching. Heart
Oh, yeah,
wrenching that someone could be out for a jog and then hunted down and killed.
definitely.
Yeah. So you went on the show the election year, the year that Trump was elected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 4 years ago, which is interesting in and of itself. Now you're at Meredith, right? And
Yeah.
I understand that one of your goals there is to make it a more welcoming place for students who might be traditionally marginalized. Can you tell me how you're doing that?
Yes, I serve on two separate committees. One is something they do every year and they have a new theme. Last year it was activism,
Mm-hmm.
and this year the theme is belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And that team works together to discuss ways we can make Meredith that community.
Mm-hmm.
This year we are having small group conversations about belonging at Meredith and what that means, and we are sending letters to the higher up people to take action. We are demanding action, and I'm just serving as a voice on that committee as well as a task force for the theater department.
Are you still the only Black student there?
I I believe so. I think there might be one other who is doing tech,
Mm.
and
Okay.
she is mixed.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm glad that you said that because for anyone who's listening, the African American experiences vary quite a lot depending on where you are in the country and what your surroundings are, but they really vary with color too, and hair texture and eye color and that kind of thing. And someone who is mixed race, Black, with straighter hair and lighter eyes might have a completely different experience than someone who's brown with kinkier hair and darker skin. And so I'm glad that you made that distinction because I think that's really important. Your bio says when not studying, she is either scooping ice cream at a local ice cream shop where she works, spending time with her girlfriend, or catching up on the latest episode of Love Island, which I think is really cute. I don't know Love Island. I thought you were going to say that you binged that show. That's what I thought you were going to say at the beginning. What is Love Island, by the way?
Love Island is a show where they get about 10 people at first together on an island, a beautiful island where they're
Mm,
served drinks and do all these things. And the goal is to find love. It does end in money where they're given like $10,000 and you can choose to split it with the couple you found or to keep it to yourself. But a lot of people find genuine connections because they're in the space with people for weeks and
yeah.
weeks with no phone, just each other, and the friendships seem to last. And
Mm-hmm. So it feels real while you're watching it.
yes,
Yeah.
and it's an easy show to keep up with because they post every weekday.
Nice. Oh, that's a
It's
lot.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they film fast.
Well, good. Thank you for that tip. So you're 19. Tell me where you see yourself at age 24.
At 24, I hope I will be teaching in a school, preferably high school students,
Teaching what?
theater education.
Theater education. Beautiful. Do you want to stay in the part of the country where you are?
I don't want to stay in the South
Hmm.
or the deep south. I definitely want to move more north, whether it's DC, New York, Massachusetts, Maine.
You want to stay on the East Coast, though?
Yes.
Yeah, you just went right up the East Coast there.
Yes. Just kept going up.
Yeah. You didn't say California at all.
No.
You
I
know,
wish.
yeah.
That used to be the dream.
All right. So you want to get your degree and then go and teach. I think being a young Black lesbian Southern theater teacher in Philly or New York would be so badass. That would be dope. Really.
I know.
I
That
love
sounds
that.
awesome.
Yeah. Bliss, tell me, where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
at Bliss AW,
Okay.
Twitter Bliss2427, and I have a YouTube channel.
Oh.
I don't really post, but I do have a poem on LGBTQ rights, and that is Bliss Vlogs.
Bliss, VLOGS?
Yes.
Okay, great. Bliss, thank you so much for this. This was such a great conversation, and it was so nice to hear. Like I said, we've never had a situation where we've interviewed somebody and then interviewed their child for their perspective. And it was so great to get your perspective. And we just love your mom. And I'm so excited that we got to do this. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
Yeah.
It's really
Thank
important.
you.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It is. Thanks, Bliss. The Only One in the Room has brand new interviews for you every week. You won't want to miss our full episodes every Tuesday, Scott Talks on Wednesday, and our new Thursday series, The Now Normal. And twice per month, be sure to catch our 30-minute Sunday edition by subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Join our Only One in the Room Facebook group if you'd like to tell us about your Only One story. All of us at The Only One in the Room wish you safety and wellness.